Thanks for joining me today. I'm Pat Kiernan at patspapers.com. We select the top U.S. newspaper headlines, and today we'll start in New York. This is one of those stories that may have changed by the time you are hearing it here, but this morning the New York Daily News and the New York Post both reported actress Natasha Richardson brain dead after a skiing accident. The Daily News story said her husband, Liam Neeson, has to make a heartbreaking choice about how long to keep his wife on life support. She is in New York now. She was flown there yesterday with medics keeping her alive after the fall at Mont Tremblant in Quebec. It didn't seem like a big deal at first. She complained later of a headache after skiing off the mountain herself, and it got worse from there. The New York Post coverage includes a sidebar story about ski helmets. We don't know exactly what a helmet would have done in this case, but we do know that generally you are better off with one than without one. Almost half of skiers are wearing them in the U.S. now. Mont Tremblant, just a short drive from Montreal. The Montreal Gazette puts this story on the front page as well. Though it doesn't have as many details as the New York papers, the article does say she was laughing and joking after her fall. It wasn't until an hour later that she complained of a headache. The AIG story still has tremendous momentum. It's become the outlet of choice for politicians trying to show their outrage at Wall Street. The front page of the New York Post says, "Not so fast, you greedy bastards." The headline referring to the plan in Congress to tax the money back that AIG has been paying out in unpopular bonuses. The Wall Street Journal notes another distasteful payout may be ahead. Some hedge funds may be in line to get insurance payouts from AIG. Remember, these are the same funds that sometimes were betting against the housing market that the government's now. In Post, an op-ed piece by AIG Chairman Edward Liddy. He may not succeed with this effort, but it seems like he's trying to get Washington to move past the bonus controversy and look at the overall health of AIG. He writes, taxpayers should know that the government's assistance to AIG has had a beneficial effect. The assistance has provided stability to the company and to the entire financial system. AIG is on the front page of the New York Times again today. The headline there emphasizing the bonus details revealed by the New York Attorney General's office yesterday. Employees receiving bonuses included 52 who have already left the company. Times columnist David Leonhardt examines the whole "we must pay well to retain good people" theory. The headline on that story is "Paying Workers More to Fix Their Own Mess." Back to the front page of the Times now. For the view of the White House yesterday, the Times says Michelle Obama used Chicago as her inspiration in requesting a green fountain for St. Patrick's Day. A story in the Seattle Times today says there is an intense investigation underway into possible fraud in the collapse of Washington Mutual. Federal agents and prosecutors are said to be combing through a staggering number of documents. The Los Angeles Times says foodies are blue about a new 300% tariff on French Roquefort cheese. It goes into effect April 23rd. That move in retaliation for an EU ban on hormone-treated American beef. One angry California restaurant manager calls the Roquefort tariff a blatant, petty move on the part of the White House. A couple of sports items. On the back page of the New York Daily News, Martin Brodeur of the New Jersey Devils, now the all-time winningest goaltender in the history of the National Hockey. If you've got the money, the New York Times says this is a good time to join a golf club. Many fancy courses have relaxed their initiation fees or are allowing new members to pay over time. Know that the Avril Lavigne song was Skater Boy, not Skater Girl. There are typically a lot more boys at skateboard parks, but the Houston Chronicle says programs such as Babes on Boards are attracting more young women to skateboarding. Are secondhand books dangerous to kids? That's the question in an Associated Press story seen here in the Detroit News. Could a vintage copy of The Cat in the Hat be hazardous to your kids? The Consumer Product Safety Commission says books printed before 1986 may contain unsafe levels of lead. Librarians mostly ignoring the advice to pull the books from the shelves, skeptical that children are going to be eating their library books. One clearer hazard for kids is the drop-side crib. They have been popular. It's easier to lift a child out of a crib when one side can be lowered. But the Chicago Tribune says major manufacturers have now agreed there are too many safety problems when the mechanisms wear out. All four sides of any new cribs will be permanently fixed. New Hampshire is the only state that doesn't have a seatbelt law for drivers and their passengers. State legislators are considering a change. The Wall Street Journal on the front page today says supporters of seatbelt choice are not going down without a fight. I talked about this on the blog yesterday. Apple finally adding some features to the iPhone that a lot of us thought should have been there all along, like a search function and the breakthrough technology known elsewhere in the world as cut and paste. The story in the San Francisco Chronicle says it's playing it fairly straight, describing the new features that will be contained in an update this summer. Other papers didn't let Apple off so easy today. The Washington Post headline is, "Next up for iPhone, a basic left out before." We do this every day. If there's a story that I've talked about today that you want to read, you will find a link on our website, patspapers.com.